All righty. So in the chat, put your name pronounced phonetically for me if it isn't already obvious, and your location and your pronouns. We got a few more people jumping in, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Ash is in Colorado. Asha's in Oakland. I didn't realize you were that close to me. Anna's in Costa Rica. JC is in San Diego. Welcome, everybody. Alma from Gatineau. I don't know where that is. Phoenix is in Florida. Where is Gatineau? I'm probably not pronouncing it right either. Brianna is in Massachusetts. We got Samantha in Mexico, Lindsay in Cerrito, California, Estonia, Europe. Oh my gosh, y'all are from all over the place. Oh, it's in Canada. Beautiful. Okay. Stacy is in Indiana, Quebec, Canada. Okay. Awesome. Yay, worldwide. Awesome. All right. There might be a few stragglers coming in, and I'll give them 2 more minutes to do so. But while that's happening, we'll go ahead and get started. I am Katie J. I'm a spiritual life coach, and I support other spiritual seekers in doubling their peace, doubling their clarity, their calm, and their confidence. And I'm so excited to do this eclipse ceremony today. I started off with it being a new moon ceremony, and as I learned about what was happening with the eclipse, I was like, I learned from all the different readings and what Phoenix sent me. Phoenix is my my wizard that I commune with on a regular basis about what's happening in the cosmos. And what I learned was actually this is not the time to focus on the new moon. It's the time to focus on the eclipse and what's happening with eclipse season. So that's why I was like, okay, this whole plan that I had for setting intentions for the new moon, disregard. We're doing something else. We're going to be regulating and balancing and healing our nervous system today instead because of what is happening in the eclipses. And I'll talk about that in a second. So obviously this is a ceremony that is for the eclipse, but it's also to mark the opening of Breathwork House, which is what's on this t-shirt right now. And Breathwork House is a new community that I am launching tomorrow, and it exists to support spiritual seekers, spiritual folks in walking along their spiritual journey, along their awakening journey. I am someone who grew up in the church. I am the granddaughter of a Southern Baptist pastor, so we went to church every Sunday. I sang in the choir. We went to Sunday school. We prayed over every meal. We prayed before bed. I mean, we were religious, and my family still very much is very religious. And then when I went to college, I learned about all these different religions. I met all these people who practiced all sorts of different spiritual things, and my eyes were opened to all of the parts of the religion I grew up in that didn't mesh well with me, that didn't feel right to me. There was always that underlying like, ooh, I don't think that's right, or ooh, that feels really icky and like not exactly how the God that I know would speak or require of his followers or their followers. And when I left the church at the end of college, I went into like my deepest depression where I was binge drinking a lot, I was partying a lot, I was sleeping with people I shouldn't have been sleeping with, and had no self-respect, no self-worth, and was just a complete mess. And all of this shifted when I got into the yoga community and took a yoga teacher training the year after college. That's when I had a spiritual community again. That's when I saw people with altars and spiritual practices that didn't look anything like my upbringing, but was clearly supporting them in connecting with God. And so that's when I regained a spiritual community and saw the impact of a spiritual community in my own life. So this spiritual community that I'm creating inside of Breathwork House is meant to be a place where spiritual seekers can gather around specifically the new moons. There will be other gatherings that we have, but the new moons are the main point of gathering that we do so that we can do spiritual and somatic shadow work, and support you in walking along your spiritual path. Now, this is going to be a monthly membership that's $29 a month, but you can also pay for the yearly access, which is $300. And if you do that, then you get a t-shirt like this. Well, it'll be a full t-shirt. I cut mine off because it matched this outfit better when it was cut off. So inside this membership, that is where you will learn how to double your clarity, double your confidence, and double your sense of well-being as a spiritual person. So today, what we're going to do, like I mentioned, is, and by the way, that spiritual community, Breathwork House, that Moon Circle membership that I just mentioned, the $29 a month or $300 a year, all of that opens tomorrow. So this is just to tell you about it, but tomorrow you'll get an email inviting you into it. So I've already received some people asking, like, where is the link to join? It'll be ready tomorrow. I'm still in the process of building it out and getting everything ready for y'all. So, all right. Enough about that. Let's go ahead and dive into this ceremony. I would like to open us up with some grounding meditation. So let's go ahead and find a comfortable seat. If you're I'm more comfortable when I have a pillow underneath my hips. I've got a meditation cushion and my knees are a little bit lower than my hips. And I'm going to elongate through the spine and allow your hands to rest on your thighs, on your lap, palms up or interlaced, whatever feels more comfortable for you today. And we'll start by taking a few conscious deep breaths. Allow the breath to fill the belly and release out of the nose. Allow the breath to fill the back and release out of the nose. Allow the breath to run up your spine and release. Returning to whatever breathing cycle is most comfortable for you. You can keep your eyes open or closed, whatever is more comfortable for you. Notice how it feels to breathe into the body today. Soften the space between your eyebrows. Loosen your jaw. Surrender to this precious present moment. Ceremony is about tapping into the sacredness of life. Opening yourself up to the magic that exists within you and all around you. And it's important to navigate this magic from a place of feeling present, comfortable, and safe. So throughout this journey, asking yourself, am I present? Am I comfortable? And do I feel safe? And if those things are the case, open your heart and ask your inner wisdom to join this ceremony. The wise inner guide that lives in you Ask this wisdom to show you where you can surrender a little bit deeper. Where you can allow the flow of life to bring you your heart's desire. To access this from a place of being, embodiment, rather than doing, rather than hustle and sacrifice. With your inner wisdom here with you, drop all of your awareness down to the tip of your tailbone, the base of your spine. And we'll move our way up the chakra, one by one. We'll start at the root, imagining roots growing deep into the earth, a bright red light shining beneath you into the earth, connecting you to the love of the earth, to the abundance of the earth. Every spring, the buds come back, flowers bloom, babies are born, nature renews itself, and we are supported in this abundance. Bring your awareness to your low belly and the sacral chakra, the fluid waters of your sensuality and emotions. I honor my emotions. I honor my sexuality as sacred. Moving your awareness into the solar plexus, a bright yellow light in between the rib cage, your place of power, autonomy, and sovereignty. The fire within me burns through all of my blocks and fears. And then bring your awareness into your heart space. Notice the bright green light shining from your heart. Open your heart to share this love with the world. And then bring your attention into your throat chakra, what you use to speak your truth and cast spells into the universe, into the field of infinite possibility. I use my voice to create the life of my dream. And then bring your awareness to your third eye, slightly above your eyebrows and in between. Connected to your intuition that will guide you every step of the way. I trust my intuition to guide me. I trust my intuition to guide me. And then finally connecting with the crown of your head, which connects you to source, infinite intelligence, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, the crown of your head, connects you to the all-knowing power that created this universe, that creates the tides, the forests, the seasons, and every hair on your head. I surrender to the divine plan for my life. I surrender to the divine plan for my life. Taking a few deep belly breaths, integrating these mantras, these vibrations of wholeness. We'll take a final deep breath together in through the nose. Hold at the top. And sigh it out. And when you're ready, you can flutter your eyes open away from the screen and come back when you're ready. Welcome, everybody. I wanted to show you all my altar real quick. This is the altar I use daily for ceremony. And no make wrong when it comes to making an altar, right? You can't mess it up or do it wrong. This is how I like to do it, which is basically having the elements represented. I've got fire with a candle. I've got this feather to represent air. I have this pink salt rock to represent earth, and water to represent water. And then my cards that I pull from the various decks every morning, that's kind of my connection to ether, if you will, because that's that connection to spirit, source, what have you, is what guides my hands when I'm pulling those out. So I wanted to show you that. I also kind of set it up to represent the directions as well: north, east, south, and west. So wanted to introduce that to you. If that's something that you ever have questions about, like how can I set up an altar, where places, I've had clients who are like, I have kids, I have no sacred space in my house to put an altar. And so I've encouraged them to put it in a drawer if you can, right? Like maybe a drawer that they can't reach, and then you pull out that drawer and you can have it open for your sacred time in the morning or whenever it is that you're gathering. So we are going to move into the somatic portion of today, the movement portion. Somatic means related to the body, by the way. So like I mentioned earlier, when I was planning for this gathering, I had this whole agenda planned where we were going to do journaling and share with one another and do breath work and all this stuff. And then as I spoke with Phoenix, and as I also subscribed to the Rising Woman email list, and they also sent out an astrology report about the eclipse. And so as I was reading that, it just became so abundantly clear to me that that was not the plan, and that the plan is actually to instead focus on regulating our nervous system and taking care of our nervous system, because eclipse season brings about huge changes and shifts in our lives. It's the beginnings, it's the endings, it's world events that are happening during this time. And it can be a scary time of turbulence and maybe some chaos, excitement. It can be a little unnerving. And so as all these shifts are happening, what is most supportive is for you to take care of yourself, for you to regulate your nervous system, for you to and reconnect with calm in the body as these things are shifting around. And it's also a good time to recommit to your spiritual practices, which is why I bring the altar into this, because this is a very, for the past 85 mornings, I know because I track it on my Insight Timer app, I meditate for 30 minutes and then I sit at this altar, light this candle, pull the cards, and then I journal. And that's been like my spiritual practice every single morning. It was kind of part of a New Year's resolution, but it's become so much deeper than that, right? So this is a good time, eclipse season is a good time to recommit to your spiritual practices, especially in the mornings or in the evenings when you have that sacred space for yourself. So we can make the most of eclipse season by surrendering control and allowing change to occur. So often we try to like hold on to what is and what is known to us. And I talk so much about the world and the realm of infinite possibilities because it's only in that place that we can receive something that we never have before, right? A new client, a new income level, a new house, a new partner, whatever it is. From that place of change is where we receive those things. And actually, the first tattoo that I ever got is this little triangle, which is the symbol for the delta symbol is the symbol for change. And I left it open right there to remind myself to be open to change. So it's very appropriate that we're doing this here today. So we're going to be doing a nervous system regulating practice that will actually be a modified version of TRE. Some of y'all have done TRE with me in the past before, and some of you haven't, and that's fine either way. And what I mean by modified is that TRE is a set of very specific 7 exercises. And instead of doing that, we're going to do a little bit more of a fluid and movement yogic type practice, which is why I want you to have a yoga mat, blankets, etc. So how it's going to work is we'll start off standing and then we'll do a laying down portion after that. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what's going to happen. So TRE, tension and trauma releasing exercises, was founded by a man named Dr. David Berceli, who's a bioenergetic therapist and a clinical PhD social worker who studies trauma. And he studied trauma by putting himself into traumatic situations, into war zones, places of conflict, so that he could study what was happening in people's bodies. And he noticed that when there was an active threat, when there was a bombing or an attack, people's bodies would naturally contract. So imagine I'm running at you with a bat. You're going to contract like this. You're going to protect your vital organs, right? That is a natural mechanism that we have, is that contraction during stress or during a moment that threatens your survival. And what he also noticed was that once the threat had passed, the children in the communities would be shaking. They would actually, their bodies would shake out that contraction, whereas the adults in the space would not. And so he basically came up with this theory that our bodies are genetically encoded to contract during a stressful situation and to release that contraction through a shaking mechanism. But as adults, we have been socialized out of allowing our bodies to shake. We maintain that contraction and we keep the stress in our bodies. And so when we do these 7 exercises, we are preparing, or the yoga practice that we're going to do today, we're preparing our bodies to release that contraction, to release that stress that's going to come up when things start shifting and changing, right? Like I just had a situation recently where I do dog and house sitting in the Tahoe area. And I had a client who pays me $140 a day to dog sit her 2 dogs and sit on her rabbit and bird. She was going to pay me from Thursday to Monday to do that, and then canceled on me last minute. And I had already turned away like other opportunities to work and to play, to be there for her dogs, which are puppies. And I was like, okay, I can either stress out about this or I can say the money's going to come in some other way. And sure as shit, I woke up this morning and someone wants to rent my van for the exact same amount that I would have received from this other client. And so when things shift and change, it's so good to regulate our nervous system, which is why we're doing this practice during eclipse season. Because if you can stay calm and stay in the vibration of it's coming to me no matter what, I don't know how, I don't know where, but it's coming to me, and you can stay in that trust by having a regulated nervous system, then you're in that vibration. But if you slip out of that and go into the vibration of, oh shit, where's the money going to come from? How am I going to pay for this? I got to pull from this. I got to rearrange all these things and I got to control it all. Then you're in the vibration of, no, universe, I got this. I'm going to control it. I'm going to move all these things around and I'm going to be the one that controls it. Whereas the universe can say, all right, or it will say, all right, you got this. I'm not going to help you out. Right. And so staying in the vibration of calm and peace and trust and confidence is what will support you during eclipse season. So I digress. Dr. David Berceli basically came up with this theory that we've been socialized out of releasing stress and tension and trauma. Because if you see somebody shaking in public, you're going to think that they're sick, that they're having a seizure, that they're on drugs, that something's wrong with them, that they're, we have this stigma against being afraid, right? If you see someone being afraid, like we don't want to come across as being afraid. So we've been socialized out of allowing our bodies to do this. So what we're going to do today is basically mildly fatigue and stretch the muscles that are associated with that trauma response, with that contraction. So we're going to be working the muscles associated with the abdomen, with the psoas, which is in the hips, and the thighs and the calves and the back and glutes. That's what we're working today, at those muscles. And when I say mildly fatigue, I mean we don't want you to get above a 6 or 7 out of 10. So if you start to notice that we want you to notice that your muscles are being worked, like, oh, this is being worked, but we don't want it to hurt or burn. This is not a HIIT workout or CrossFit. This is a slight fatigue. And we're going to mildly fatigue these muscles, and then we're going to lay down, do a few more exercises, and then you'll be ready to shake. You'll be ready to tremor. And it can show up in a variety of different ways, as a thrusting, a tapping, a shaking, a twisting, all these different ways. It could not even physically show up in a way that I can see it, but you might feel it along your spinal column or in other places in your body. And this is the ultimate practice of surrender. When people do this for the first time, they're like, whoa, I'm not telling my body to do this. It's just doing it, right? Because our primal animal bodies know what they need. They know how to release that contraction. We just have to get our minds out of the way and trust our body to guide us and show us what exactly it needs. And as we learn to trust our bodies, we have more awareness in our day-to-day about when we're getting triggered and when we're getting scared and when we're getting into control mode. And you can actually sense that in your body, have a greater awareness of it, and be able to navigate it more effectively when you are learning how to manifest through surrender. So we're going to go ahead and I will actually, let me ask if you will put in the chat if you have any injuries that I should be aware of. Remember, there's really no way you can mess this up. If you need to like skip an exercise or do a modification, we can find that modification for you. But do go ahead and put any injuries in the chat. Injuries in the chat so that I can be aware of those, and we will go ahead and get started. So go ahead and set up your camera, set up your space so that I can ideally see you from head to toe. If I can't see you from head to toe, at least your head. I want to see your face. That is the most important thing, is seeing your face. Alrighty. And I am recording, but I'm recording in speaker view, so y'all will not be recorded in this. All right. So let's get started by first arriving in the space with your feet parallel to one another, hips width distance apart. Slight bend in the knees, allow the arms to relax by your side, and take a few breaths. Arriving here. Let's put one hand on the belly and one hand on the heart, and breathe in gratitude for yourself for carving out this time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now go ahead and drop your hands to your side. And we'll just start to shift into the top of the toes and then back onto the heels, onto the toes, and onto the heels. Shifting forward and back. And then come back to center, and we're going to shift from side to side. We're warming up the ankles here, grounding into the surface beneath us. Taking a few more rocks from side to side. And finding center, taking a deep breath in, sweeping your arms up and overhead, reaching high, deep breath in. Exhale, fold over your thighs, bend your knees, hinge at the hips, and allow everything to release and relax forward. Deep breaths here. And then gently roll back up to standing. Awesome. So now what we're going to do is we're going to keep our feet hips width distance apart. And you're just going to lift up your heels and then drop them down. Lift up your heels and drop them down. And we'll do that until you notice that your calves are being worked. They are activated and being used, but they're not hurting or burning. So we're just lifting up and dropping back down. So once you get to that level where you're like, I'm a 6 or 7 out of 10. We don't want it to hurt or burn. When you get to that level, shake out each leg. All right, I see a few people shaking. Awesome. So now what we're going to do is I want you to lift your arms up on an inhale, and then you're going to sit your hips down and back like you're sitting at a chair behind you. Down and back. Inhale, come up. Exhale, sit back down. Your feet are parallel to one another. Inhale, come up. Exhale, sit back down. We're just going up and down into chair. Guided by the breath. Activating the thighs, activating the glutes. As you sit, I want you to make sure that your knees are not going in front of your toes. You should still be able to see your toes when you sit down. And a way to do this and help you with that is to think about really sitting those hips back behind you instead of just dropping them down. So sitting the hips back and then coming up. Beautiful. It's kind of like a narrow squat that we're doing. Here we're fatiguing the thighs. And as we fatigue the thighs, again, no more than a 6 or 7 out of 10. We're not trying to sculpt anything today. We're just activating it as if we were preparing to run from a tiger or some other sort of threat. Our primal body is preparing, or rather our primal body, we're kind of simulating a stress response in our bodies, if you will. So again, once you reach a 6 or 7 out of 10, shake it out. And I'll wait till I see a few more people shaking. I still see some squatting going on. Awesome. Looking good. Okay, we're going to move on to the next portion of this. So this is going to be a stretch, a wide leg forward fold. So my feet are parallel to one another. My legs are wide enough that I'm already starting to feel some sort of activation. And you're going to have a slight bend in the knees. We don't want to ever lock out our knees in these practices. And so what I want you to do is hands on the hips, deep breath in. Exhale, fold forward in between the legs. Allow the arms to relax, allow the head to relax, allow everything to relax. And then walk your hands to one side. Both hands to the right side or the left, doesn't matter. But grab onto the foot, the calf, whatever you can get a hold of. Make sure your hips are still centered. If they shifted over with you, shift your hips back to the center. 3 breaths here. And once you're done with those 3 breaths, move over to the left side, hands on your foot or your calf on the left side for 3 breaths. And once you're done with those 3 breaths, go back to the center, reach between the legs, palms face the sky, reach, reach, reach. Really activating those thighs and stretching the hips for 3 breaths. Release the head. And once you're done with those 3 breaths, come back up to standing with either a flat back or a rounded spine, nice and slow, not too fast. Gently bring the feet back together and then shake out the legs. Awesome. Now, what I want you to do, I'm going to turn to a 45-degree angle. It'll be easiest to see you that way. So 45-degree angle from the camera. Feet are parallel, knees are slightly bent. Hands are going to go onto the glutes like they're going into jean pockets. And what you're going to do is you're going to push your hips forward, lift through the chest, and keep your chin parallel to the ground. The tendency here is people want to throw their head back. Don't do that. Keep your gaze neutral. And we're just going to lift through the chest and push through the hips here. We're opening through the front body and stretching all of that out. Breathing here. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take these hips like they're headlights on a car, turn them to one side, push your hips forward once again, lift through the chest once again, but we're going to continue the twist down and back to look at our heels behind us. And we're stretching and twisting through the side body here. 3 breaths. Remember, the knees are slightly bent. We're not locking out the knees ever. These look great. Once you've done 3 breaths there, turn your hips to the opposite side. Push that hip forward like you just humped something to that side. Lift through the chest and continue the twist down and back, looking at the heels. Knees are bent. Front body is stretching open. These look great. Breathe here, 3 breaths. Once you're done with that, come back to center for one more time. We're going to push the hips, lift the chest, open the front body for 3 breaths. And then we'll come back to center and shake it out. Okay, for this next portion, we're going to be doing wall sits, basically. We're going to start off with our back against the wall. And if I can't see you, that's fine. A wall sit is not that crazy of a thing. And then you're just going to walk your feet out away from the wall and sit your hips down. Here's the thing. We're going to be here for a while. So we don't want you to get your fatigue level above a 5 out of 10. And if you start to notice that it's getting close to a 5 out of 10, instead of coming out of the pose altogether, what I want you to do is just walk your feet closer to the wall and slide your hips up higher so you take some of the pressure off of your thighs. But you want to maintain that hold for the full duration. I'm setting a timer. We're going to be here for about 3 minutes. Your arms are relaxed by your side or on your lap. You're breathing naturally and normally. Check in with your fatigue level. Where are you out of 10? If you are getting close to a 5 out of 10, slide up the wall a little bit. If you're not feeling anything and you're like, this isn't hard for me at all, maybe slide down a little bit and increase the workout. 2 more minutes. This practice is just a taste of what you will experience inside of Breathwork House, inside of the Moon Circle membership. We'll do TRE, we'll do breathwork, we'll gather in community and support one another and meditate. It's going to be a good time. 1 more minute here, checking in with yourself. In a moment, when we come out of this posture, not yet, I'll have you put both hands on either side of your hips and then push forward into a forward fold and hang there for about a minute. And we'll do that in a few seconds. Alrighty, go ahead and push off the wall into a forward fold. Keep your knees slightly bent. Hold here, let everything from the hips up, release and relax, surrender down. You can relax your arms, relax your neck, full fold. On your next inhale, slowly roll all the way up to standing with a flat back or a rounded spine, and shake out your legs one at a time. Awesome. Go ahead and remain standing. If you need to set up your space to look like mine, it's nice to be able to see you from head to toe. If I can't see you from head to toe, then for sure your head. But the way that I set this up is that my computer is sitting on a dresser. So if your computer is, or your device is elevated and then pointed down, that's going to be the easiest way for me to see you. So stay standing while I show you what's about to happen on the ground, and then I will guide you to do what's going to happen on the ground. So, but stay standing because we don't want to lose your fatigue level. So what's going to happen is you'll first arrive here. I like to have a blanket underneath my spine for additional support because of the shaking that's going to happen. So you'll arrive here with your feet, the soles of your feet together and your knees wide. And you'll arrive here with a few deep breaths. And then I'll invite you to lift your hips off the ground, an inch, a few centimeters, nothing crazy, right? Or even just have the intention of a lift is fine. You're lifting your hips up off the ground. We'll hold here for about a minute, and then you'll drop your hips, and I'll ask you to slide your feet away from your hips a little bit just to open the diamond shape of your legs, but your feet, the soles of your feet are still together. And then from the natural widest opening of your knees, I'll have you bring your knees together 2 inches and hold. And then in a few minutes, I'll have you bring your knees together 2 inches and hold. And then finally, one more time, 2 more inches together and hold. We're fatiguing the inner thighs here. And then once we've done that, and at any point you might start to notice an activation, a tremoring, a bouncing, a swaying. If you notice nothing, that's fine too. Just let me know. And after we've raised it 3 times, I'll have you put both feet flat on the ground, but they're still touching. The inner edges of the feet are still touching. And your knees will be in a V shape, slightly wider than your hips. And this is where we'll be to shake and tremor and experience all that practice has to offer. You can take a break at any time. I'm about to show you how to take a break, but we will all take a break together by extending your legs out long. This is how you take a break. And it's good to take breaks because the body needs time to integrate. I will, like I said, I'll guide us all to taking a break together, but you can take a break before that, after that, anytime if you're getting too fatigued or what have you. And then you can come back to it. If you want to stop, you're like, no more, I don't want to do this anymore. The beautiful part about this practice is that you are in control and you are an active participant in your own healing. If you want to stop the tremors altogether, you extend your legs out long and flex your feet up towards your face. That flex creates a contraction in your muscles that will stop the tremors. Okay, so that's how you shut it down, no more. But this is how we'll be for a while. And then at the end, I'll invite you to integrate. You can integrate either on your back like this. I like to integrate on my side because we just spent a lot of time on our backs. Or you can integrate on your belly. Some people like to do that too. And then we'll come back and we'll share our experiences, and we will, if we have time, do a little journaling, or maybe I will send you home with that as homework. So go ahead and get on your mats. JC asked, are your hips raised the entire time, or are you the entire time you are bringing your knees in? No. So I'll have you raise your hips for just a minute and then drop them back down. So go ahead and land on the floor. Bring your feet together, knees wide. Bring your feet as close to your hips as you comfortably can and breathe here. Arrive here. And then from the natural widest opening, then from here, push into your feet and shoulders and lift your hips up off the mat an inch, a few centimeters. Then go ahead and drop the hips. Take a few breaths where you are. And then slide your feet away from your hips a few inches just to open the diamond shape of your leg. So away from your hips. And then, Andrea, you can probably slide your feet a little bit further out. And then from the natural widest opening of your knees, bring your knees together 2 inches and hold. Just 2 inches, few centimeters. Some of you will start to notice activation sooner than others. And that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you have more trauma and stress or less trauma and stress. It just simply means that is what your body is available for today. Same with how much or how little you shake. The body has its own intelligence that we are tapping into. An intelligence that the mind does not fully understand. The same way that there is an intelligence in our universe. If you look closely enough, it'll blow your damn mind what this universe does. Just like in our opening meditation, I want you to check in with yourself throughout this practice and ask, am I present? Am I comfortable? And do I feel safe? If the answer is ever no, or I don't know to those questions, take a break, extend your legs out long, keep your feet relaxed. And if the answer is yes, I feel present, comfortable, and safe, then stay where you are. During this practice, breathe naturally in and out of the nose. And occasionally, I'll have you let out a sigh to remind the body that you're safe. Go ahead and bring the knees another 2 inches together and hold. I love this practice so much because because of how it allows us to let the body lead and the mind follow. The more we can do that in our day to day life, the more we are surrendering. Surrendering to the flow of life, surrendering to the plan that infinite intelligence has for our life, our dharma, our mission, our purpose. Because your animal body is part of nature. It's your mind that has been socialized, domesticated, and conditioned. So if we can let our body lead and our mind follow, we can surrender with more ease. Bring your knees together another 2 inches and hold. We're activating the thighs here, the hips, the lower abs and psoas. Breathe. What would happen if you allowed spirit, infinite intelligence, source energy to work through you as a vessel, as a conduit? What would happen if you got out of the way and allowed the universe to bring you everything that is already meant for you, instead of trying to control what happens next? It's okay to say, I don't know, when it's in the vibration of, I don't know, and I'm willing to be guided. I'm willing to be shown the way. I'm willing to do my part. Show me what you would have me do. Such a powerful prayer. Go ahead and place both feet flat on the ground. Bring the feet to touch, the inner edges of the feet touching, and the knees slightly wider than the hips in a V shape. And here's where you can play with the trimmers. You can play with having your knees wider, having your feet a little bit further away from your hips. Like Brianna, I think you could probably move your feet a little bit. There you go. See where the trimmers show up for you. And know that you can take a break at any time. In about 2 to 3 minutes, I'm going to invite us all to take a break together to support the integration. But you can break before or after that. Let the body lead and the mind follow. The body knows what to do. The body knows what it needs. Let it show you the way. Am I present? Am I comfortable? Do I feel safe? If you're on camera, give me a thumbs up if you're doing okay. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. Okay, let's take a break. Extend your legs out long. Take a few breaths. Keep your feet relaxed. And then go ahead and bend your knees again. Put your feet flat on the floor, inner edges of the feet touching. Some people do like to have their feet a little bit apart. You can experiment with that too. Every body is different. Every body needs something different. If you start to notice that your legs are getting really fatigued and you want to try something different, one thing you can do is extend one leg long and keep the other one bent and play with that to see how the tremors show up differently. Maybe it's slightly less fatiguing that way for you. Oh. We'll keep tremoring for another 5 minutes and then we will integrate. What's interesting about these tremors is that we never really know what our body is releasing. Is it releasing stress from work or home life? Is it releasing ancestral trauma or childhood trauma? We don't know. It's one of those great mysteries of life, and maybe we don't need to know. In order to surrender, we don't need to know. We can simply say, I trust that my body is releasing exactly what it needs to. I trust that I am receiving exactly what I need to. Ah, Deep breaths remind the conscious mind that you're safe, that this is normal, even if it's your first time. Oh. Am I present? Am I comfortable? Do I feel safe? Alrighty, over the next few breaths, begin to wrap up and move into extending your legs out long so the tremors can fizzle out. And if you'd like to integrate on your back, stay there. If you'd feel more comfortable integrating on your side, roll onto one side, and your belly is an option too. If you're on your back, roll onto one side. If you're on your side, stay there. Take a few deep, juicy breaths in through the nose and out. Take your time coming back to a comfortable seat. We're going to stay in this vibration for a little bit longer with a quick meditation. So maybe fold a pillow up and sit on it. We won't be here for very long. But get comfortable. Allow your palms to rest on your thighs, your spine to elongate, your jaw to loosen. Feel your subtle body. Feel the energy running through your fascial tissues and meridians, your chakras. Per quantum physics, nothing exists unless it is observed, unless there is attention on it, consciousness focused on it. So you can bring your consciousness to your subtle body. That loving intention is enough. Observe how your body feels after releasing the stress and the tension. Breathe into your heart space and place both hands over your heart. Allow your love light to shine out of your chest, filling the room you're in. Breathe in gratitude for this practice and this ceremony. Breathe in gratitude for the changes and transformation on its way. Breathe in gratitude for your heart's desires manifesting with ease. Breathe in gratitude for a deeper relationship with yourself. Breathe in gratitude for yourself, for carving out this time to make this day, this moment, this life sacred. Drop your hands. Take a deep breath in. Hold at the top. Sip a little bit more. Release it all. When you're ready, flutter your eyes open, away from the screen. I am going to check in with y'all, with each of y'all after that practice to see how you're doing and what came up for you. My computer is about to die, so I'm going to transition over to my desk space. I'll share some aftercare instructions too at the end. Paulina, let's start with you.
I really don't know what happened. That was my first time. So yeah, I was shaking quietly and I'm still processing. It was really nice. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Mhm. Asha.
Staying present is always really hard for me, but I didn't want to stop because I think I always need the space to just let the thoughts roam and to process. Um, and then I started shaking so violently at one point. I was like, "What is happening?" And then I started focusing on that. But it felt good. It felt like something I needed. Wanted to do it again, and yeah, just making different connections with thoughts and more sort of space to process. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anna.
This is my second time doing tree in general and with you, Katie. It was good. I felt fear come up, but I trust you, like I said before, and I trust the process and I trust the shaking. So I was doing my best just to sit with the fear and breathe, and I was tapping for a moment just to kind of safe to release kind of thing. So yeah, I'm sure I'll be integrating and milking on this for a while and have more to check in with you on, but just kind of holding space for allowing fear to be present and not freak out.
Thanks for being here and sharing. Brianna.
This was powerful as it has been in the past. I can't remember the last time I did it, but it definitely was a little shocking to me, like how much my body was tremoring, like to the extent of I don't really know what's happening. But it was super helpful for me when you shared about we don't know what we're releasing and listed a few things that it could have been, because that kind of helped me remember, like, oh yeah, this is not just muscle fatigue, like there's true emotion that's being processed and released. So thanks for that reminder.
Of course. Thanks for being here. Lindsay.
Yeah, it's a good release. It was nice to hear the ideas about changing up the position to kind of fit my body and where the tremors might be released. And even though I don't know what was being released, it was the thoughts I was having were sort of a little bit of a revelation for me too. So that was helpful.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for doing this.
Andrea.
Nothing specific really came up for me, but it felt wonderful to release. Although I did, when you were listing off the things that I could be releasing, when you said ancestral, it like tremoring kicked up a notch, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's what's going on right now. So I thought that was interesting, but maybe it's just timing too.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrea. Ama. Also, is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah, you got it. You got
Okay.
it. So this is my third time doing TRE. This time around, I actually did it in a different space than I usually do it. I'm in my bedroom. And I felt very secure compared to the first two times I did it. I remember the second time kind of freaked out, like freaked out of it. But this time around, I just felt very calm and I was like repeating what like the affirmations that you were stating. And I think I was just ready, you know? But the funny thing is that I didn't tremor as much as the first two times. So, so I was just like tremor, like, you know, like get it all out. And it was just very mellow. Like, okay, I'll take mellow. But the meditation, when we dived into that meditation, I just felt my spirit telling me, emphasizing on the notion of surrender and just letting go. Because I'm a control freak, and it just really emphasizes on that. So I know what I need to really dive into in the next few weeks and months ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And for all of you who identify as control freaks out there, I'm one of them. And a piece of advice that I received from a healer in Sedona that I work with is to turn that control inward instead of trying to control everything out there and everyone else and all the situations. Turn the control inward, controlling, and not in like a obsessive way, but controlling your emotions by just simply starting off by bringing awareness to them, controlling your nervous system by starting off with practices like this, right? How can we turn that control into controlling my thoughts and emotions and vibrations to match the surrender?
Thank you.
Yeah. Phoenix.
Hi, thank you. That was very powerful. Me and my little kid self always get really emotional at times of changes. So the eclipse is a big change, but we're also changing seasons, right, from Aries to Taurus. So a big part of the practice was I did feel my little kid self like just break open when you ask. I'm used to you asking the questions: Are you comfortable? Are you present? Do you feel safe? But I heard them for the almost like for the first time, because it's like my younger self was like, no one ever asked me that. Like, thank you for asking me that. Like, it's so simple and so important. I felt the similar thing that someone else said about how you were like, it could be ancestral, and then the tremor like went harder. And for me, I felt there was a lot of like childhood stuff that I didn't even know what I was releasing, but there was one like point of clarity of like the ancestral release of like a deep wound of like feeling unworthy. And I think that is why change feels so uncomfortable for me, is because I'm like, oh, I'm losing everything and I don't deserve it. Like those kind of thoughts. So getting to purge that and like really I felt myself setting like deep roots in worthiness, in I deserve everything I manifested, and change doesn't mean I'm going to lose everything. And change always brings in like beautiful things as well. And I just feel like I did a lot of ceremony last night, and I was feeling really connected to the magic and in my dream realms. And then this morning I just felt so heavy and like trying so hard not to shame myself for where I was at, and just trying to be where I was at. I was feeling really dissociated. So like just the starting meditation like was just like everything I needed. Like I did meditate this morning. I do my practices always, but just to have like support being held in that and getting dropped in and getting to like my body started tremoring last night before bed. It's like it knew what it needed. So yeah, I just experienced like really powerful release and like rebirth in this session. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. Whitney.
Yeah, I'm super freaking tired. I think I released a lot of stress and tension and fight or flight that I've been of resisting the change. And I think the biggest thing that resonated for me was allowing the change and just giving myself the nervous system nourishment to be able to move through the change and not resist it. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all so much for being here. Oh, JC, are you around?
I am. Thank you so much. I had so much resistance at first because I'm like, this wasn't the plan and it changed. And how dare you? And I was like, can I stay through it? Can I just like practice what she's saying? She's telling me to surrender. And I had never done TRE before. And I felt it so deeply in my hips. And I carry a lot of tension there. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know it was not the plan at all. And I was like, technically through TRE, you're not supposed to record a TRE session. Like I'm not supposed to record myself guiding it. But it wasn't TRE, it was a modified version of it. So it was like, I had all this resistance coming up to what spirit was asking me to do today. But I was like, I just need to trust too, that this is exactly what y'all need. And it works so much better than what it was that I originally planned. I'm going to share a little bit of aftercare instructions with y'all. First things first, drink lots of water today, more than usual. We stirred up a lot of energy. We want to flush that out. You may be tired, so rest if your body needs it. Your muscles may be sore, so a warm Epsom salt bath will help with this, and that usually only occurs the first time you do TRE. In the next 24 to 36 hours, you may experience some tiredness, emotional fatigue, and even more shaking. All of this is normal. If any of it concerns you, contact me, hello@katiejohnita.com. Well, watch your dreams tonight. This is your first time doing TRE, please wait to shake for a couple of days to allow the integration of this session. The recommended frequency is no more than 3 times a week and only for 10 to 20 minutes of trimmering. And after practicing for a while, days, weeks, or months, you might not even need to do any like this specific warm-up exercises. You could do it after a yoga practice or other physical activities like running, dancing, what have you. A few sessions or classes with a TRE provider are recommended prior to starting a personal practice, and please don't teach anyone TRE. A TRE provider has completed a certification process and is trained to teach TRE safely. Now, if you'll have any questions about what happened today or about Breathwork House and the Moon Circle membership opening tomorrow, please don't hesitate to reach out to me via email. I'm here for you, here to answer any questions, and you'll receive the replay. So this replay will be available to the public until the end of April. And then after that, it will be inside of the Moon Circle membership. So you can do a few more of these sessions between now and the 30th if you would like to when I send out the replay. And know that you are loved, that I'm so grateful that you are here tapping into this beautiful portal with me. And I just want to say thank you for showing up for yourself and for being here today. Bye, everyone. Thank you.